This mutation is called Together Forever, and it is being played on Chain of Ascension. We have two mutators active. We have Polarity, and we have Just Die. Ah, what a wonderful set of mutators we have to play. So, I think everybody is familiar with these two mutators because the mutators are just ridiculously stupid. So we're just going to continue with the casting and just take a look at what is going on here. Both the commanders are starting to tech up right now. So Tychus is slowly getting his double refinery, and Fenix is going for the Taldaran opener, which means he will need to put down a Robo and get some units out. So the goal here, I think you might have seen the the message just before it faded away, is that Tychus wants Fenix to go and get a Conservator out before the first hybrid wave. This might be a little bit tricky, but I think every attempt is going to be made to try and get that out. One thing to also note is like the Conservators, because they have the damage reduction of 30% to 35%, 35% or something, it makes your unit significantly more tanky, and when you're up against a mutator like Just Die, or more importantly, Polarity, it can actually mean the difference between a victory and a loss. Polarity is one of those mutators where you don't really think of it as an enemy unit being more difficult, but what normally ends up happening is that one player's army is going to be weaker than another player's army, which means that it's going to take a while to clear out an attack wave, and usually the stronger player army is going to be sitting around taking damage from these units, while the weaker player's army is going to be working away on those units. So that is something else to also take into consideration. Polarity deals a lot of damage to your own army, and usually you want armies in roughly equivalent power levels to deal with this mutator. So over here now we have the first wave that will be coming up, and Tychus is already in position to deal with that, and Janara is starting to nag both the commanders, says, hey, come push me forward. Push me forward. But now Taldaran is out, and he is ready to go and deal with the first challenge that he will be facing. So notice here how Taldaran is going to be sticking with Tychus because Polarity is active. Generally speaking, you will have Taldaran on this side, but again, if you put Taldaran over here, these Zealots are going to aggro him, and it's going to end up wiping out pretty much everything here. So the other thing to also note is at the time of this patch, the Polarity mutator icons are broken. So you will see here that pretty much all the units have Polarity, but that's not actually true. You can see here that both these commanders are dealing damage to these units. But Polarity is bugged as of this patch, and the icons show up for all units regardless of whether they have Polarity or no. This means that it is a lot more difficult to figure out which player has to deal with which unit, because you can actually tell without attempting to poke the unit through. And the one thing you can do is if you actually it's gonna be really difficult to do so, but if you actually point at a unit, I'm not sure if the replay interface will show, but if you actually point at the unit, see the little yellow circle that pops up underneath the Zealot? That circle changes color depending on whether you can attack the unit or no. So yellow, I think, means you cannot attack it, and I think red means you can attack it. And that is one way of knowing whether the unit is in your Polarity. So that is something that is a trick that can be used to determine whether you can attack the unit or no. So we have over here that Tychus is having a little bit of a problem, drops a Shard Grenade down, and pings his ally saying, "Here, get this pylon off my base so I can start taking my expansion." Yeah, I don't think this is actually showing. It doesn't look like it, but yeah, that is one trick that you can use. Is just point at the unit, and if you see the red circle, it means that you can go ahead and take this. So now there is I'm not sure if that is an attack wave, but there is a small skirmish that is going on in front of this map here. And we have also a Conservator out. And yeah, Fenix is ready to go. Fenix wants to go ahead and push into this side though, just clear out these cannons. So Fenix is going to send a few units over here, another few High Templars as well. There is a Revitalizer that gets dropped, and now a Conservator Field as well that is here to just reduce the amount of damage that these units are taking. Because Fenix is not really in the mood of losing a lot of units here. Now the Conservator is getting focused far down. A little bit of damage on here. The Conservator trying to get microed back a little bit. Doesn't manage, ends up surviving with 1 HP left on that Conservator. But now the Conservator is going to get flanked by the other attack wave. Now this attack wave is really massive, very scary. And that Fenix has the solar flare ability as well. There's a little bit of they do decide to back off a little bit just to make sure that they don't end up taking damage. This attack wave is also particularly scary. The second attack wave on this mission is kind of an attack wave that you'd be expecting at maybe the 12 or 13 minute mark, if not the 15-minute mark. So you're not really in the position to be able to deal that kind of damage. You can see here how Polarity just like interferes and it just weakens enemy forces because you end up wasting a lot of time just soaking up damage, which you would not normally have. Tychus' Revitalizer, it has been keeping the units alive, and all that is necessary now for Fenix is to just rebuild that one Conservator here. You can see that there's an SCV that gets stacked onto this Warbringer here because the SCVs can repair. So this is a little bit of an extra micro move that Tychus can do as well to just provide helping some of the repairs here. And now these cannons are going to end up being cleaned up. Expansion is now clear for Fenix to take, and now we have the first hybrid super pusher spawn that is ready to be pushed into. So Tychus is going to slowly start poking, just to clean up some of these cannons over here. He has to be very careful with how you choose to take this engage. One of the important things when you're dealing with Polarity and just die is just taking a slow engage and being very careful so that you do not end up losing a lot. We have a bunch of Warpins now. There's some Conservators over here. Conservator field comes down to help reduce the amount of damage that's being taken on these units. And now Fenix and Tychus are starting to pounce on this army, and it's going to be a while before they're able to cut through. Janara is not very pleased about that because she's getting very close to the edge of the pit, but yeah, they are able to clean up that side with very minimal casualties over there. So far, only one Conservator has been lost over there. Tychus' Revitalizer combined with the Conservator protection field significantly reduces unit losses, which is what is very necessary for this part. So Fenix decides to teleport across, and now Tychus has an Odin as well to just one-shot these zealots with his volleys there. And now Janara can be pushed forward a little bit. Tychus is unfortunately not in position, but he needs to go and use his nuke over here because he kind of doesn't want to burn that. He hasn't used a nuke yet because using a nuke on the zealot would be a little bit of a waste. To send his Odin forward. Just wants to move into the middle of this enemy base and just basically wipe out anything he can. So to drop a nuke over here, and that is the first nuke that goes down. That resets the just die on a lot of the units now. And now Fenix can go ahead and start cleaning up this side. Janara, on the other hand, is very close to the edge of the pit, so the commanders will have to try and hurry up and make sure they don't end up losing the mission. Because Janara is sitting near the edge there. Her heels are already touching the lava pit. So they want to make sure that the shoes that she is wearing maintain their rigidity. So they will need to try to push Janara forward a little bit. They're just trying to go ahead and push into the side now. Just a little bit of harass from Fenix and Talos, the rest of Fenix's army now. Just gonna go and start cleaning up whatever's left of these enemy units in this camp. With this area, they have to be a little bit careful. These disruptors as well to deal a lot of damage here with these novas, as you can see there. And yeah, there we go. This a little bit of a push more. There's more of a push now on this side. The last side decide to push back, and now Blaze is out, and Blaze has the oil spill ability. So the idea here is the strategy that is being utilized over here is just mitigating the amount of damage that your units are taking because you cannot hit them back. So the idea, like this immortal, for example, is under Polarity. It's under Tychus Polarity, so Tychus is the only one to hit it. So you have your Revitalizers, you have your Conservator fields, and now the other thing that's been added is Blaze's oil spill, which reduces the attack speed of the units that get caught in that oil spill. So you're not really using it for the chaining ability, and which is why Blaze will probably not be going for the chain ability. What you basically want is to just slow down the amount of damage out, just to reduce the damage output of the enemy units by slowing down their attack speed. So that is why that is out. And now the attack wave is making its way towards Tychus' base, and we see how the commanders are going to go and deal with it. They decide to go ahead and intercept. Blaze is already in position, drops the oil spill here, slows down the attack speed of the Immortals, and once the Immortal ends up going down, it will just weaken the overall strength of this attack wave here. So Phoenix's army now has bounced as well. pretty much all cleared. They're just waiting for Tychus to finish cleaning up this side. Attack wave has been cleaned up now, and now there is another pushing wave that is coming up over here. This is a harass wave. Tychus is already in position. Drops the oil spill down, and as you can see here, slows down the Zealot movement speed and the attack speed, makes it very useful. Fenix jumps in, does a little ballerina move thing, and ends up cleaning up that attack wave for the most part. There's one last Zealot over here that is harassing Tychus. That gets focused down by Fenix. Now, that is that. Now, the next Hybrid Super Pusher wave has spawned, and we'll start pushing Janara back, so these commanders will have to try and scramble to get into position. Both the expansions seem to be relatively well saturated here, so I think that's all okay. Now, just a question of utilizing the armies effectively. So you can see here lots of AI champions, lots of carriers, and basically just a good mix of units here for Fenix and Tychus as well. The front line to tank, Conservator Field, Revitalizer Dreads drop. Oil Spill as well reduces the hybrid attack speed, reduces the amount of damage output to your army while your army heals and takes less damage in general. So your army is actually really strong now. The synergy here is very, very effective in dealing with a lot of this stuff. Blaze OP, yes, Blaze is definitely OP, but Janara is getting very, very close to the edge of the pit, and now there is another fear here, and a very, very panicked ping here. So Fenix jumps in now to jump in and help, and now uses the Solar Flare to just take out whatever is left of these Immortals. Immortals do end up getting cleaned up, and some of Amon's army decides to wail on that one Immortal with the Phoenix, but that area has been cleaned. You have recall, yes. Apparently Phoenix forgot that there was a recall ability. I use recall so infrequently that I sometimes forget that I even have that ability. But yeah, the correct choice, the correct play there would have been to use the Arbiter to the Cyberus Arbiter to just recall Phoenix's army completely and end up wiping that side. But there you go. For the most part now, these armies are doing well. Macro-wise, seems okay as well. Very few resources are being floated on both players' parts, and Fenix is starting to ramp up in terms of his power level for his army. He's still at the level 1 attack. He's at level 2 air upgrades. He's still at the level 1 attack upgrades now. And now Phoenix will start pushing in here. And now there is a small left remnant of the enemy camp that Tychus had nuked a little bit earlier. Again, lots of disruptor purification novas that are coming out. But now these disruptors are on cooldown. They can actually jump in and pounce. And again, Conservator Field is coming down, keeping these armies alive as well as the Revitalizers. And that will make these armies really, really tanky. This camp has now been cleared. And now all that is left is to go ahead and deal with this next attack wave that is coming up. So Phoenix and Co will be moving over here to, or maybe Tychus only. Phoenix uninterested in moving. Oh no, he decides to move now. And now Phoenix will be choosing to engage this thing with Tychus. Tychus in the front here. Oil spill on pretty much all the units over here. Very nice oil spill there from Tychus. And now Phoenix's army has bounced onto this attack wave as well, and they will start straying this side. And you can just see the amount of damage output once you have a good enough army here. Polarity does not really make too much of a difference when you're able to kill stuff very quickly, or when both armies are able to kill stuff quickly. The problems for Polarity normally happen when one army is able to kill stuff and the other army does not have the damage output to clear. So that is where problems start to happen. We have another oil spill here onto these units. Slow down their movement speed, slow down their attack speed. Now Tychus can just move in, or Phoenix can just move in and clear out whatever is left of these zealots. And now Janara basically has to be pushed forward. There's an observer over here. We're barely taking damage. The spare is good, yes. The spare is actually like the combination of the conservators with the revitalizers with the blaze. It does mitigate the amount of damage that your army takes in general. So can be very, very effective when you're dealing with Polarity. Now there's another harass wave here again on the Immortals. Again, another nice oil spill onto these units here. And now these units are going to end up getting completely cleared up by the allied commanders. And now the next set of hybrids have spawned. So it's going to start pushing in. Again, Phoenix at level 2 ground and at level 3 air upgrade. So let's see what Phoenix's plan is over here. He's going to start moving his army as well. Just keeping Tychus in the front line. Tychus can tank a little bit, and now they are ready to go. And Conservators as well ready. Conservator protection field comes down, and an oil spill as well to keep these units at bay, while the allied commanders are able to clear up these units, whatever units are in this area over here. Again, just lots of damage output from both these commanders over here. A total of 38,000 damage has been dealt by Fenix so far. So this is one of the advantages of having Fenix in the army. And I think, yeah, these hybrids have been cleaned up. And it basically does not look like a mutation anymore because of just damage output from both these commanders. But both players are starting to ramp up now. Pretty much good to go. Get ready to push Nara into the next side. The one thing you will have, though, regardless of whether you are whether you have a strong army or not, is the amount of damage output from Polarity and Just Die. You will inevitably take some losses, but very important to ensure that you you constantly replenish your army and make sure that you're using your resources as effectively as possible. So Phoenix is going to start jumping in now, and now it drops the conservative protection field. And again, with it combined with the revitalizer, it should keep this army pretty much alive here. You can see there's very little damage output. You can see very few of these HP bars getting dropped here. There are a lot of scary units here from Amon, but Amon doesn't really seem to be making a scratch on these. Lots of storms coming down onto these allied commanders. These allied commanders do not care. They're just going to keep charging through and completely wiping pretty much everything that is here. And yeah, this base has been completely smashed by the commanders. And now we have the last hybrid spawn that has to be dealt with. And then that is pretty much it. We have a few more weapons here for Phoenix, just making sure that he has enough shells for his AI champions. And now the next hybrid spawn has been made, and we will see what Tychus is going to be doing. Starts pushing a little bit here, slowly poking in. A conservative field again comes down, and now Tychus drops his Odin. Odin drops a nuke, and that nuke instantly takes off a large number of units and removes a lot of Just Die stacks here. And now Phoenix decides to push in. And with the conservative field and the revitalizer, pretty much keeping those units alive, and now he's just going to start wailing on those hybrids. These hybrids really stand no chance against the allied commanders here. The amount of damage output that Phoenix has, especially in an endgame army, just cuts through those things like a hot knife through butter. And those units stand no chance against Tychus. The onslaught of Tychus with nuts as well, which is just like a lot of splash damage here. So that is all that is left here. A few more air units, but I think those are all Polarity for Tychus. Tychus is just going to jump in and clean up whatever's left. Hybrids are all dead now. Now we just basically have a carrier and walk down here. And now Tychus medevacs himself across, and that is pretty much the last spawn of hybrids that has to be dealt with, as long as the commanders keep pushing Shannara back here. And there we go. Amon's champion gets booted into the pit. And yeah, Shannara has been saved, and that is GG.